Hello, everyone, and welcome to a spontaneous episode of iCritic Live. This is the podcast where we talk about entertainment, pop culture, and life in between. I'm your host, Kevin D. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net. I'm joined with me today with a guest star, Rachel from Rachel's Reviews.
Howdy.
Howdy, and we love having Rachel on the stream because we never argue. We agree about everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, I think we're like a couple of bears that like to poke each other most of the time. But whatever. Once in a while, you have to have some interesting things.
Yes.
So this was truly a live, spontaneous episode. There was no real planning in this. Some news came up, and then I just messaged Rachel and said, "Hey, I'm going to go live in like an hour. Do you want to join me?"
It was very lucky because most nights I have either a movie screening or a show that a local community theater that I'm reviewing, but today's an off night where I don't have anything, so it was very lucky.
Yeah, yep, very lucky, and especially for the topic because we're going to be talking about something that we've actually discussed a few times before.
Yes,
the best animated feature category. Now, you can of course give your thoughts on what you think about the category. I mean, people who view my channel know that I definitely have a love-hate relationship with this award. I am so glad it's here, and I love what it can represent. I've also been highly critical of not only how the nomination process is, but a lot of the times who the winners are. I don't know. Is that your kind of ballparking?
Sorry, say that again. What did you say?
That I like what the award represents, but I don't always like how it's voted on and the Academy's attitude towards it. I mean,
it's frustrating when it is a replacement from or an out for nominating those films for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's frustrating because there certainly have been some worthy entries, and there's been a few that have also been nominated for Best Picture, but not many. And I that's frustrating when it's kind of like, well, we don't have to worry about it because we can nominate it for animated feature, and that's not my favorite. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, well, at least they got some recognition. At least there's something, because for a long time, aside from Beauty and the Beast and maybe an honorary like with Snow White or something like that, or Toy Story, they would just get completely ignored altogether. So, what's worse, like being completely ignored or being a little bit patronized? I don't know.
Right. But really the big controversy of that award has been the winners. Now, winners are always controversial in every category. Yeah. I mean, heck, even last year where like the best live action short film, where it was like, I kind of felt like Aileen was like, this was gift wrapped for the Academy to give it best animated feature. It's like, oh, it's a good short. They can make like a political statement. And then like I'm Not a Robot ends up winning, and it's like, oh okay. So there's always controversy.
It's true. A lot of people messed up their ballots with the shorts last year because there were a lot of random ones.
Yeah. Although I correctly picked the animated short one, and I actually kind of felt almost happy for them because those directors actually couldn't campaign for the award because of all the stuff that's going on with the new administration and all these other directors.
Surprising because like it hadn't won anything as far as like two of the other ones had won at cons, one had won an Annie Award. Like I was just surprised that one just seemingly kind of came out of nowhere, but it was quality, so I was fine with it.
Yeah. And I felt good for them. Like, they had just got their their travel visa approved. They went straight from the airport there, and then they won. Yeah. It's like, can you imagine like being that stressed to get to the ceremony only to lose?
Yeah. It was good for them. I was happy for them. For sure.
But as with every voting thing, occasionally there's going to be tweaks, and the Academy Awards announced some tweaks to the rules on the upcoming date. Now, they of course announced some things that are not very noteworthy to discuss, like date changes and how to use the online portal, things like that. But the one that caught people's eyes is this new rule. And if you're watching this live, you can see it. But if you're listening to the podcast version, this Variety headline says Academy sets new Oscars rules for 2025. You need to watch all nominated films to vote in a category. And before we talk about why that's going to be good for the animated feature category, let's establish what that means. It does not mean that the Academy members have to watch every single movie that comes out before they can vote in a category. That would be a logistical nightmare, and it's also an impossibility.
Mm-hmm.
What it does mean, though, is if you are going to vote in a particular category, like, say, you're going to vote in Best Sound, because who doesn't want to vote for Best Sound? You have to have seen all the nominations in Best Sound before you can vote in that category. Now, first of all, from your perspective, on paper, does that sound like a good thing?
I mean, it seems like it should be. I saw a lot of people who were saying, "What? This isn't already a thing? How's that not?" Like it seems fairness that you should have had to have seen all of them. But then my next thought is, well, how the heck are they going to enforce that? And how are they going to know whether they're going to be at every screening or?
So
that doesn't make any sense.
We will explain that, but on paper, it should, if someone is going to vote for something in a category, most people would agree you should at least have experience with all the nominations. You can't just see like 1, 2, 3, or maybe even nothing in the category, but you're going to check something anyway because, I recognize that person.
I know for our Utah Film Critics Association, there's always an abstained option, and like for this last time, I didn't get to see any of the or not very many of the documentaries, and so I abstained from voting in that category because I just hadn't seen them.
And for the record, I don't know if it actually says abstain on the Academy ballot, but Academy voters can abstain from voting if they so choose. But that's not always what happens. Now let's share this 2-year-old article from Cartoon Brew. And for the record, no, things have not gotten a whole lot better in the Academy's attitudes towards animation. But the article is titled, Oscar Voter Admits He Doesn't Really Give a Bleep About the Nominated Animation Features. Now, what this is referring to is every year, like Deadline or Variety, it's one of those two, does like a feature where they talk to the anonymous voter and they kind of ask the voters, what are you going to nominate? And I'm going to give whoever does this a lot of credit. They always ask about the animated films. They don't always ask about the documentaries and the short films and things like that, but the animation category is always brought up. That's one of the good things about having this award. And those are always the most frustrating responses if you are a fan of, well, I would say animation. It really should be cinema. But if you're especially a fan of animation, the responses are annoying. Like, here's some things that some Academy voters have written. I watched at least part of all of them, a couple of them in their entirety, and I didn't really give a bleep about any of them. My favorite animated film of the year, Luck, didn't even get nominated. Which, personal comment, no offense to Luck, I kind of liked it, but if you're not watching enough animated movies, if that's the best one that you saw that year. Another person says, I didn't see The Sea Beast or Marcel, the Shell with Shoes On.
Oh,
I know that guy does not know what maybe you could skip The Sea Beast. That's not extraordinary, but you're missing out if you're not watching Marcel. I liked Turning Red. If Guillermo del Toro hadn't made Pinocchio this year, Puss in Boots would have deserved to win. It's so good, but he did. I love Guillermo, and I love the animation, the way he told the story. It's like, okay, that one's not too bad.
Yeah.
But what about this article that says Academy voters don't watch the animated features they vote on, and the Academy is fine with that? One person says, I didn't see Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, or Incredibles 2. Isle of Dogs? I didn't like that at all. Spider-Man was fantastic. My vote, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, in all fairness, I think you and I would agree that of those, Spider-Man was definitely like the high point that year. But
I can understand. I can even be sympathetic of somebody missing one of them.
Yeah, but
missing three? Come on.
And the funny thing is, 2 of those 3 were Disney films. It's kind of hard to miss them.
Yeah.
So one person says, if there's any doubt about what's going to win, I swore I'd never vote for a superhero film, but how can you not vote for Spider-Man? The last time I was this excited by the creativity in an animated film was when I saw Shrek. Really? There was no other animated films that got you. Anyway, it is a complete work of art, and the other nominees aren't even in the same hemisphere. Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet are the same old stuff. I kind of agree with that. Isle of Dogs is what Wes Anderson has done before, and I've not seen the other one, which is Mirai. It's like,
I mean, it's a tough one because that was a game changer one. So what they're saying makes sense, but it's also a little frustrating because that game changer, the best animated film since Shrek, according to this person, still didn't get nominated for Best Picture. Like, what?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right, exactly. Let's do one more and then we'll talk about, just because this one, I think actually this year, the year that Big Hero 6 won, and this might really put that into context. Because by the way, these were the 5 films, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Big Hero 6, The Tale of Princess Kaguya, The Box Trolls, and Song of the Sea.
That was such a good year. That was such a good year. I love.
Yeah, Big Hero 6 win in that one, and that was the worst one that they could have. I mean, and it's not bad, but it's like I have 4.5 stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, 4.5, and then Big Hero 6 is like 3.5 stars.
I would say The Box Trolls is the worst, but I don't hate it. I would say that's the worst of those, but still. It was a good year.
Yep. So here's what some of the voters say. And these are the comments that have driven us fans nuts for a long time. Voter number 1: if you call anything a snub this year, it was the Lego Movie, which was one of the best movies of the year. Yeah. But 2 points on that one. 1, that is accurate, like you said. But 2, if it was one of the best movies of the year, you could have also voted for Best Picture, because unlike these other categories, which are specialized in voting, anyone can vote for Best Picture. So if you really feel the Lego Movie is one of the best films of the year, nominate it for Best Picture of the year.
But that's the problem with having the categories. The people just kind of, we can, that'll just get covered in them. I remember Ebert and Siskel and Ebert saying, like, when they were talking about Hoop Dreams, saying, people think it'll be covered by documentary. Oh, no, of course not. The documentary branch is garbage. And they didn't nominate it for Best Documentary. And of course, they didn't nominate it for Best Picture either, because that's what happens so often with these category specifics.
Yeah, but it did get nominated for Best Editing, which was interesting.
Ridiculous.
Anyway, the voter continues. I don't know what happened there, but it is inconceivable to me. One of the 5 they did nominate, my favorite, is Big Hero 6, which is adorable and original. The second voter said, where's our Finding Nemo this year? It's not a very great... This isn't... Yeah. Oh, yeah. Finding Dory was released that year, but that was... Thankfully,
I think that's what they mean.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they continue. It's not a very great group. I like Song of the Sea and The Tale of Princess Kaguya, but I'm voting for How to Train Your Dragon 2 because it was superbly entertainment and works on most levels, although its story could be a little better. All right. Voter 3, I never got a chance to watch those screeners. There were so many films to watch, and I just had to pick and choose. I abstained. Okay, I mean, look, if you're going to admit that you're not...
Well, at least he said he abstained.
Yeah, he abstained. I mean, I don't think people... I actually don't think people should get upset when an Academy voter says, I didn't really watch the films, or I only watched 2 and I don't think I have a good enough grasp, so I'm going to abstain.
Yeah,
it's when abstain. It's when they don't, well, you'll see. Vote number 4 said, I loved Big Hero 6. Then I saw the box trolls and thought the animation was great, but the movie didn't knock me out. I must admit that I have not seen How to Train Your Dragon 2, but I have seen Song of the Sea and The Tale of Princess Kaguya, both of which I loved very much. They were really unique. If I was just voting for animation, I'd have gone with box trolls. But since you have to consider everything, I went with Big Hero 6. That comment doesn't make a lot of sense in my
Oh, so when he's talking about just the pure animation, he thinks the best animation is box trolls, but the best overall film is Big Hero 6.
Which isn't that what you're basing it on? This isn't like a tech category or anything. This is a picture category.
Yeah.
Of course, you're taking everything into account. Voter. Now, this is the one. The next 2 are the ones that are going to frustrate you. Spoiler alert, voter number 7 didn't see any of them and abstained, so okay, that's fine. But voter number 5, this one's I don't know which one of these is more offensive. You're going to have to give me your opinion. I only watch the ones that my kid wants to see. So I didn't see the box trolls, but I saw Big Hero 6 and I saw How to Train Your Dragon 2. We both connected to Big Hero 6. I just found it to be more satisfying. The biggest snub for me was Chris Miller and Phil Lord not getting in for the Lego movie. When a movie is that successful and culturally hits all the right chords and does that kind of box office, for that movie to not be in over these 2 obscure freaking Chinese effing things that nobody ever freaking saw, that is my biggest bitch. Most people don't even know what they were. How does that happen? That, to me, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. My vote, Big Hero 6. Before we comment on that one, because there's a lot in that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Voter number 6 said, and you're going to see why I'm going to say I don't know which one's more offensive. I saw all 5. I like to sit down with the young people in my family and watch them. We all loved Big Hero 6, and there was no discussion, no argument, no nothing. The kids watched that one 3 times. What does that tell you? I'm going to just say right now, honestly, it doesn't tell me anything. It tells me that the kids went with the most kid-friendly one of the bunch. But, so yeah, I don't know which one's more offensive. The guy that basically poo-pooed on the international films because he hadn't heard of them, or the one that voted for Big Hero 6 because his kids watched that one 3 times. In both cases, these voters basically admitted that their kids were unofficial voters of this category.
And to say that you have 2 Chinese films when one is Japanese and one is Irish, it's just ridiculous.
That was like was another.
If anything, if anything, either Box Trolls or Big Hero 6 should have been the one to pop out of there instead of and put Lego Movie in.
Yes, I agree.
I think almost anybody who's seen all of those films would agree with that.
Right. But these are the comments that drive people.
Like, I don't think that many people who actually watch the movie would pick the 2 foreign films to be the ones to take out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They were really good.
Yeah, they were really good. So, as you can see, animation does not always get the most respect from the Academy Awards.
But I do think that there is some changing happening. Now, we have seen the last few years, we have seen the Academy going with some a little bit more obscure, a little more artistic, some interesting choices the last few years. You know, we've gotten Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, we've gotten
Boy and the Heron,
and Flo.
And Flo.
So that
I was so happy that Flo won.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been perfectly fine if The Wild Robot had won. I don't know how that wasn't a Best Picture contender, but Emilia Perez is. We don't need to go through that again, but you know, I just felt it just felt good that a guy could basically make a movie on free software and then, you know, but as you can see with some of those comments, now this rule will not solve the problem of the voters who watch all 5 with their films and look at the kids and say, so which one did you like best?
Yeah.
That rule can't fix that. And that's a bad practice, Academy voters. I mean, you're the voter, not the toddlers in the room.
But like I said, I feel like we've seen it, as far as winners in the last few years, we've seen some more mature picks. So maybe, I don't know, maybe in this wave of this new era of animation in the last 5 years, which has been some of the most exciting animation of my lifetime, since the Disney Renaissance, that we're maybe now we're seeing kind of the industry and people, the Oscar voters, kind of catching up to like this incredible era that we're in.
Well, and it helps that they introduce like a lot of international voters to the Academy that respects the art of animation much more than the people here do.
Yeah, that's true.
But as we saw in those comments, there's some people who basically only watched a couple of them. And, you know, in regards to like the people who only saw a couple of them picking Spider-Man, they got lucky that they happened to see the best one in the category. It could have easily been Incredibles 2 or Isle of Dogs that was the best one, and they didn't see those or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's how it's going to work. Now, the way that with the shorts category, because realistically, who's going to go find the shorts? Like, I know that I know that, you know, filmmakers vote on the short films based on going to festivals and stuff, but afterwards, you know, the shorts category is one of the few categories that they had for a while that basically required members to go to a theater that had the short films. They bring like their little membership card and they get it like scanned or punched or whatever to verify that they saw all the shorts. Now, does that sound like a process that would work for all 25 categories?
No, and now they have a wider voting base outside of Los Angeles, so that's not even possible.
So here's what they're going to do. And again, this does not mean that the Academy voters have to see every single nominated film. They just have to have seen every nominated film that is in a category that they want to vote on, which, by the way, on a side note, that means getting more than 10 nominations is going to be much more advantageous to a film going forward. Because if they watch like the 3 films that get more than 10 nominations, that could clear up like several of the categories all at once.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so that might put a disadvantage to films that have 5 nominations, but that's a side note. So what they're going to do, the Academy has been developing kind of like a streaming hub for screeners. Now, they've had this for a long time where, look, come voting process day, they'll still get like DVDs and stuff in the mail. But once the nominations are announced, then the Academy members have a website they can go to and they can stream the film at home. I think they have their own little unique watermark so that if movies get leaked, they know who leaked it. And what they're going to do is when you watch that film, it will, I mean, I think you have to watch at least to the point where it says directed by, but once it gets to that point, then it counts the film as being watched and it's marked on your website, because a lot of the ballots are digital now as well.
It's a good idea.
Yep. Now, what happens if, say, you saw, like, let's kind of throw out like a movie that's getting some Best Picture talk right now, which is Sinners. Let's say you saw this at the film festival it premiered at last year. I don't know which one that was. I don't, but I know it premiered at a film festival.
Right.
What if you saw it there and you don't want to stream it a second time because you either don't have time or, God forbid, you didn't like it. Nudge, nudge.
I didn't dislike it. It just wasn't like mind blowing.
Oh, my mind was blown. But what about that situation? Well, you at that point will sign an affidavit basically saying, this is where I saw the movie, and you sign it and you submit it like, I swear under testimony and baby Yoda that I saw this movie and I saw it at this place. Now, whether the Academy is going to follow up on that, I have no idea. I'm pretty sure it would be easy to verify, especially since a lot of Academy voters, they have like those little movie subscription services and stuff like that. If they go see it like a regular theater, maybe they could show a screenshot of the ticket. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, you just have to. I think that would be too much. I think it just like I think this is good. That I feel like this is gonna help make it as at a certain point you have to take people on their honor. I don't think like that just seems like that would be a Herculean effort to follow up on every because there's a lot of voters.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it does make me wonder though, what happens when like a To Leslie surprises and gets into like Best Actress, and someone actually like says, I saw this at a film festival, I'm signing my sworn affidavit. It's like, see, if I was monitoring those things, I'd probably want to go like, really? Let's follow up on that one. I mean, I'm sure like they will not have an issue believing like, let's say, like Indiana Jones, like, oh, I saw this in theaters with my kids, I'm going to sign my affidavit. I'm pretty sure they could say, yeah, sure, whatever. A lot of people probably went to see Indiana Jones in theaters. Something like
again, like the indies, most of those, like even for someone like me, very low level, most of those get you get a screener for. So I wouldn't find it hard to believe at all that they would get a screener link.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, I'm just wondering, kind of just like, again, little thoughts in my head. Like, if you sign an affidavit for a movie that it's pretty clear a lot of people are watching, because something tells me there's a lot of people who are going to sign affidavits that say, I saw Avatar Fire and Ash in IMAX 3D. I didn't stream it. That would not be difficult to believe at all.
Right.
But then you get, I'm using To Leslie just because it was such a surprise nomination, even. Like, what if someone like just really doesn't want to watch that movie and they sign an affidavit? It's like, is that one so obscure enough where there would be a follow-up?
Yeah. I mean, I think only if you have like what's her name that was like, the way she was promoting it was like a little like we got to check up on that, but yeah, I mean, no system is going to be perfect unless you're literally like bolting people into their chairs, and inspecting them. So you have to take a little bit on their honor, but this is like a good, at least the easier that you could make it for them to watch. I think that makes sense because that just makes it easier and they're more likely to do it if it's easy.
Right.
So I think having the screening room is a good idea. That's smart.
And by the way, folks, I'm gonna like show you something. So some people have asked, and I always have to like try to explain this to people, like, why don't the Academy members just always watch all of the films that are nominated? This is their job to do that. First of all, technically, no, it's not.
Yeah.
These voting members, this is like a club. It's like a privilege to get to vote for Academy Awards. But these are actors, sound editors, working people. Now I'm going to show you something, and this is kind of partially a promotional.
It's literally because critics aren't in the Academy, so it's literally not their job to watch these movies.
Right. But I have, and I'm going to be writing more. I'm going to be writing more everyone. I have written review books for the Academy Awards, where this is something I actually wrote. You can buy it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. It has a 3-star review from 1 rating, so whatever. I mean, this was also written like several years ago. The concept of this series is that I review every single movie that got an Oscar nomination, even if it was like just for sound or something like that. Now, these books tend to be popular with short film directors because how many Oscar books get, their own little review sections for the short films. Mm-hmm. But you want to guess how long it takes me to like watch all of these movies with my daytime job and write the reviews and edit and things like that? Now, granted, most of these voters would not be reviewing them, but guess how long it takes me to watch all the movies for a book like this?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it would take a long time.
It takes an average between 4 to 7 months, depending how many Oscar nominations the heavy hitters get. So, I mean, for example, as much as I hate the fact that Emilia Perez gets 13 Oscar nominations, mm-hmm. that one review covers a good percentage of the book. You throw in the other 2 other movies that get more than 10, and those 3 reviews cover a lot of it. But it takes a long time to just watch the movies.
Yeah.
And these voting members, they have jobs. They don't always have time to watch every single thing.
Jobs, families, other responsibilities.
Yeah. Jobs, families. Now, this might even, in terms of the animated category, this might means that the animated category might get less people voting on it because some people might only see 1 or 2 in time and then decide they just don't have time to watch the rest, so therefore they don't vote. So I understand that might be something that happens. Mm-hmm. But I would argue that I would prefer that be the outcome, that there's a vote that is lost, rather than someone who is voting and might be voting for the wrong film because they have not watched the other ones.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good. And then there might be some people where if they are forced to watch 2 or 3 of them with their kids, they might actually choose to watch the other 2 because it's like, well, I'm more than halfway there. I might as well watch them.
Yeah.
And cast the vote. So I think overall, for the best animated feature category, this is going to be a net positive. Like, do you agree, or do you see some major pitfalls with this yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it would just it seems to make sense to have people that have actually seen the movies vote. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, like the bigger picture,
as much as possible within reason.
As much as possible. Yep. Now, this does not fix people watching the animated features in advance of the nominees. And
it does say here on the press release, it says in the animated short film category, all Academy members who opt to participate in must view all 15 shortlisted films to be eligible to vote in the category.
Oh, so that's interesting. So for the short films, they are expanding it where it's like you have to watch all the shorts, not just
voting privileges in the nominations round will be extended to all Academy members who opt in to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So not just the animation people.
Right. Well, I mean, I know the animated feature category, and this is where Disney ended up being like the biggest manipulator of the award. For a while, the animators were the ones that voted on the animated films. But then Disney opened it up to everyone, or they campaigned for it to be opened up to everyone, and the Academy eventually agreed.
Yeah.
By the way, first year that happened, The Boss Baby got nominated for Best Animated Feature, and not Your Name.
Absurd.
So,
but oddly enough, in the animated short category, like Disney hasn't actually done as well as you think. Like Pixar's only won a couple times, and I don't know. It's just that's actually like a more of a. It did not have the animated shorts did not have the run that features had. Which is kind of interesting.
Although once you started putting things like Paperman before it wasn't.
But people think that Disney and Pixar won more than they actually have in animated short.
Well, it's because Disney literally owned the category for the first 20 years. But recently they have not. In fact, I'm kind of curious now. How many short films have this is like a little side thing that we did.
I think Pixar's only won like 2-3 times. Not that many. Not as many as you think.
Yeah, so let's see what has won the last 20 years. In the Shadow of Cypress, good choice. War is Over, bleh. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, good. The Windshield Wiper, If Anything Happens, I Love You. By the way, folks, If Anything Happens, I Love You is on Netflix. It's wonderful. Hair Love, that's wonderful. Okay, Bow, that's a Pixar film. So that was 5 years ago. That was the last time they won. Dear Basketball looks like a Disney short because Glenn Keane animated it, but it's not. Piper, that was either a Disney or a Pixar.
Yeah,
was it Disney or was it Pixar? It's Disney. So okay, so that was a Disney short that won. Bear Story, not Disney Pixar. Feast, that was a Disney film. Mr. Hublot, I was really surprised Get a Horse didn't win that year. I thought that they were finally going to give Mickey an Oscar. Paperman won. The Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morse-Les, that's not Disney or Pixar. The Lost Thing. Logorama, that was interesting. So you start getting to the 10s, and you don't see.
Yeah, they've won animated short 5 times.
Yeah, so that's not
Pixar has, not Disney, but Pixar has won for Tin Toy. They won for Jerry's Game. They won for the birds, and for let's see here, for Piper.
Oh, that was Piper. Okay, that was a Pixar film. Okay.
Yes, and for Bow.
Yeah. So
that's it. Like it feels like they should have won. That feels low. I think people would be surprised by that.
Right.
Pixar's shorts programs that they,
And so Disney definitely did. Disney and Pixar did better in the 2010s than they had been for a while. But yeah, you're right. They have not. They've not really won much this category. It's like, yeah. And by the way, since we're talking about having seen everything, I'm almost certain people who voted on the animated short category in 2023 didn't watch these 5 shorts, and it's like, oh, there's a short inspired by the music of John and Yoko. Okay, sure. I'll check on that. I'll check that one. I'm pretty sure they didn't actually watch the short.
That was the worst one.
Of course it was. And we both predicted it would win, sadly enough, because it was like, because sometimes, it's really sad, but sometimes when you have a category of really good nominations and then there's one obvious stinker, sometimes it's inevitable that the stinker wins. And I don't know if it's because no one can decide on which of those 4 other great ones was the best one or something like that. Yeah. But
I was really, really sad with the 2022 Oscars for the 2021 films because I absolutely loved the short Us Again. That was one of my favorite films that whole year. I really loved that film. I just couldn't believe it didn't get nominated. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they could have swapped out Ice Merchants for Us Again. I don't know if it would have beat The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. That was a pretty great short. And I also really liked An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. like that was clever how you could actually see the short being made while the short was playing.
I really loved. I would say Us Again is one of the best things that Disney has made in the last 20 years, but that's just me.
So on that, I'm kind of curious. I have never really considered this before, but it's an interesting thought experiment now. Would there ever be a short you think that would be so good that you would put it on your top 10 best films of the year list above some feature-length films?
Yeah, I've done it. I mean, I can't remember if I did for Us Again. It was definitely up there. It was high. I can't remember if it was actually in my top 10. I know there's one other one. Is it The World of Tomorrow? I can't remember. My mind's gonna blank, but I feel like I have done that in the past. And I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. Yeah. It depends on what kind of list I'm making it and who I'm making it for and what's the, you know what I mean? Like whether, because it's the same question of like, do pro shots count? What kind of list is it for?
Yeah, I fully, well, you know my opinion on pro shots. I'm glad they exist, but I don't think those count typically. But I've never really considered a short for top 10, but it's like, but I wonder if there's a short one day where it would be so good that I would pick it over a feature-length film.
Yeah, it just depends on what I'm making the list for me.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the new voting rule that has everyone talking. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that more voters are going to start watching more animated films during the nomination process. But it does mean that if they want to vote in that category once the nominees are announced, there is now a verification process. And if they are like some of our friends who only watch the movies that their kids want to watch, and so they only watch 2 of them, that person can't vote for one of those 2 because they didn't watch all of them.
Yeah.
So I think overall that's a positive.
Yeah, I think so. I think at least like putting it out there and like trying to make it easier for them to watch them. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a win.
All right, folks. So that is going to be the end of this episode. Remember, you can find me on YouTube. You can find my print reviews at www.icritic.net. And you can find Rachel's reviews at rachelsreviews.net. She is also on YouTube and all the podcasting platforms. Thank you for joining me last minute for this.
Yeah. And we have a really fun episode premiering tomorrow on where my friend Stanford and I were ranking the Little Mermaid songs. That's the original, the remake, the Broadway, and the prequel sequel. So that's a pretty fun episode that's coming tomorrow. So check it out.
The prequel sequel songs are going to be on the bottom. We know that. So yeah. I mean, if you honestly think that Penguin and Walrus song is going anywhere but the bottom.
yeah. But you'll just have to listen to see where we have them all ranked. Hey, it was fun.
Hey, I'm still upset that you didn't invite me for the Disney theatrical ranking. I've seen all the stage productions, including On the Record. Have you seen On the Record?
Have not seen On the Record. Is that a 2-act? Is it a? Or is it a 1-act?
It's a 2-act, although honestly, there's not.
I don't think that was on their website.
That one
listed, but we include. I think there were 14 that we ranked. That was out of my. That's just that I do that for another. That's not on my channel. That's on blog. So
I see. Yeah, I was starting to feel a little hurt on that one. Like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Well, folks, one more thing, just because I have to share my Disney knowledge. On the Record is a jukebox musical featuring many classic songs from a variety of live-action animated films and television series produced by Walt Disney Pictures Broadway musical plays and even Disneyland attractions. For the record, the story is that 4 people are recording the ultimate record and they sing a bunch of Disney songs. It's honestly not that great, if I'm going to be honest, but like this thing was just like they couldn't even get the Disney fans to like pay $70 for it. But Anyway, folks, that's it. We would like to hear your thoughts on this category on all the podcasting and YouTube platforms that have comments. And as always, we'll see you at the movies. Take care, everyone.
Bye.